Welcome to the Veterans Archives podcast, where every veteran story is honored and celebrated. Join us as we delve into the rich histories and experiences of those who have served our nation. You can catch our podcast on all major podcast platforms, as well as every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wreaths Across America Radio. At Veterans Archives, we believe your story matters. Visit our website at www.veteransarchives.org to explore more about our mission, discover resources for veterans, and stay updated on upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to engage with our community. Subscribe, like, and share to spread awareness about our veteran stories. Whether you're a veteran, a supporter, or simply curious about the profound journeys of those who have served, Veterans Archives invites you to listen in, learn, and be inspired. Join us as we continue to honor and preserve the legacies of our veterans. Today is Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, and we're speaking with Dick Spiegel, who served in the United States Army.
Right.
All right. Well, good afternoon, Dick. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
And thank you for having us here in your home. We'll start out real simple, actually. When and where were you born?
I was born in Highland Park, Michigan, February the 27th, 1939.
Okay. And now, did you grow up there?
I grew up in Hamtramck, a Polish settlement, which is now probably more Arab or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was the largest Polish community in the United States.
And when did you move to Hamtramck?
My mother and father lived there, and they rented a house with my grandfather and grandmother. And I stayed there until I went into the service. And after getting married, moving back, never went back to Hamtramck.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about your childhood. What was it like to grow up in Hamtramck as a kid?
It was great. I mean, the Polish people are very proud individuals. The homes are all well kept, close-knit in their organizations and things like that. In Hamtramck, where we lived, we could walk from my home, well, actually my parents' home, to Joseph Campo, which was a major street. You had everything there that you might want.
Okay. Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister.
Okay.
And that was it.
All right. Is she older or younger?
She's younger.
Okay. So was she was the baby of the family then?
Yeah.
Okay. And, growing up, so how far apart in age were you?
Pardon?
How far apart in age were you? How much older were you than your sister?
I'm 86. She was born in 1941, so...
Well, a couple years.
A couple years.
Okay. What are some things you remember about her as a child? Any favorite memories?
Sorry to say, she was always a little smarter than what I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We're both raised in a Catholic home, went to a Catholic high school, and she made the honor roll, whereas I didn't.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
It was great.
And what did your parents do? Oh.
My dad started off as a auto worker at Chevy Gear and Axle. After several strikes and things like that, worked in a small jobbing shop. From there, his sister got him a job or an appointment for a job with the school system in Hamtramck.
Okay.
And he retired as a bus driver.
Really?
Right.
Okay.
My mother was a stay-at-home mom, but she would occasionally clean. There was a small, I think it was a jobbing shop or whatever, just to supplement the income, but like that. She was a great mom.
So what would be a favorite memory of your mother?
Loved to cook. She wasn't too much into the gardening and things like that, but I mean, she could cook. She did, not needlepoint, I think it's called
Cross
padding or something like crosses and things like that. And that was about it. We never had anything that we would want. Mom always made sure that we had things that was it. Like I say, my father worked as a bus driver. I remember him. And I mean, playing ball in the alley, playing catch, and things like that. He'd take me fishing on Belial, out to Algonac, things like that. And again, it was memories that I still have.
Yeah. Good memories too, it sounds like.
Right.
Well, that's good. Well, what about school? What was school like for you?
I went to a Catholic grade school, Queen of Apostles in Hamtramck. From there, went to St. Florian's, which is no longer in Hamtramck, but that was a Catholic high school. Took all the, which would now be college prep courses, and graduated. Not with I couldn't say with honors. I graduated, with that. I wasn't a valedictorian or anything like that, but.
Respectable grades anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, I maintained my grades, and all that. I couldn't compete with my sister, but I mean, that was it.
Yeah. Did you play any sports at all in school?
We played intramural basketball. My mom didn't want me to play football. She's always afraid that I'd get hurt, and I respected my mom's wishes.
Yeah. So how'd you like basketball? Were you good at it?
It was a lot of fun. We'd go on. We could play four corners down the street. Then, the gym was open a couple days a week. We'd play after school. A lot of basketball. Some baseball, but that was about it.
Okay. I do have to ask, because it's Hamtramck, and I hear this all the time. The food there must have been amazing.
Oh, till this day, I mean, I can't find a Polish restaurant that they had over there. There's one that was called Under the Eagle. There was another one called Zosia's. There was, the infamous Nicholas. And the one that we would call the Cooperative Russian Restaurant. And the reason for that is that was the only place that the Russian descents could go out and get the Pravda magazine.
Okay. What's one of the Polish foods that you like? What's your favorite? Or do you have a favorite?
Not a favorite. I mean, Mom was always, she'd put it on a plate and everything like that. I mean, I love my sauerkraut and neck bones. In fact, I'm going to be making it for Brian. Sauerkraut, smoked sausage, and boiled potatoes.
Oh, that just sounds amazing. And it's simple food.
Yes.
I mean, it's not complicated.
Polish food was always simple. You had your pork chops, you had chicken soup. Another delicacy was pickled pig's feet.
Okay. I didn't realize that was Polish.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, Polish, German, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, we all had it.
Right.
And then the other one, just thinking, I know my lovely wife doesn't like it that much. But the Polish people had a version of the borscht. Ours was served, that was with beets. And it was served warm over potatoes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's normally cold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Russian is cold.
Let's take a quick break.
Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on donations from our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and would like to support our continued efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the donate button. Thank you. Yep. Well, and I think with beets, either you like beets or you don't like beets.
Yeah, I love beets.
I'll eat beets all day long. My wife says they taste like dirt. So What are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
So you get through high school, and then did you join the service right out of high school?
No, I went out and I actually wanted to start off as a pharmacist, was accepted at Detroit Institute of Technology College of Pharmacy in my junior year. Well, then with the enrollment being somewhat down, Wayne State took them over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Wayne State, they had too many. I was on a waiting list for 3 years and no. So the next thing is that I was reading an article someplace about the medical field. So I went out and I found a small college, pursued a degree in medical technology.
Okay.
And then from there, even going into the service, I was in the medical corps.
So what made you join the service?
Well, my number was coming up. At that time, we had to draft,
Yep.
And I knew, I called this board, and he says, well, we can't guarantee this, we can't guarantee that. I was already a second semester junior.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, well, would I get a deferment? He says, well, you got to take some more courses. Well, can't take it, courses. So I enlisted, and that was it. Spent 3 years in El Paso.
Okay. And now, where did you go to basic training?
Went to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky.
All right. What was that like for you?
Well, I was, I would have been in my middle 20s. So I would say I was a little bit more mature than some of the younger kids. So I didn't have it that hard.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that they're playing mind games with you, until now, I wouldn't knock what I got from basic training and anything else.
Yeah. There's a lot of lessons learned there, right?
A lot of lessons,
Mm-hmm.
And everything else.
Is there anything from basic training that sticks out in your mind that you learned while you
The
were
infiltration course.
there? Okay, let's talk about that.
Infiltration you were in, you had to go through the dry run. You went through a wet run in daylight.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little scary because, they warned you don't get up or anything like that. And then the wet run at night, going through and seeing the tracer bullets go over your head, that was a little scary.
So the infiltration training, is that where you're crawling?
You crawled on your belly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd have to get on your back and get underneath the wire.
Mm-hmm.
That was the scariest part. Some of the night problems. There was a fellow by the name of Pete Smorinsky from Chicago. Him and I were always the point men.
Mm-hmm.
And they always warned you at the night problems, don't trip the tripwire because the flare would go off. Pete and I we're about halfway through the project, and the dummy tracer bullets came in. We got scared. We tripped the wire.
Uh-huh.
He hit one side of the post, banged his ribs up pretty good, and so did I. But like that, hey, you learn by your mistakes.
Right. And the whole time they're firing these tracer rounds over top of you.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Pitch dark, and all you're seeing is them bullets go over your head, Yeah.
Sounds pretty realistic, though.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So you graduate basic training, and then what kind of training do you go
From
to?
basic training at Fort Knox, I went into medical training at Fort Sam Houston.
Mm-hmm.
It took up anybody with the MOS of a 931, which was a lab. You had to go through combat basic training, medic. So I took, I had 4 weeks of that, of the 8 weeks, going into lab school over there. Graduating, had OJT, on-job training at Fort Belfour in Virginia. And at that time, I already had my certification and boards as a medical technologist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and working in a hospital up to that point, they wanted me to stay. Well, the Army knows better than anything. Request denied.
Mm-hmm.
I wound up going to El Paso, Texas. Looked on the map, and where in the hell is El Paso? Well, Major Graham went out, and he says, "It's right here, son." He says, "You're on the border of the Mexican border."
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I wound up for 2.5 years.
Now, did you work at the medical clinic there or the hospital there? What did you do there?
I worked in the clinic, William Beaumont General Hospital in El Paso.
Okay. And anything exciting happen in El Paso for you?
It was, again, I was privileged enough to serve with all of us that were in the lab, with the there was 2 sergeants that weren't. Everybody else had at least 2.5 years of college.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have, pardon the expression, the young, immature kids coming up.
Right. These are all people who knew what they wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did you learn a lot
Yep.
working in that clinic?
Yeah. And I mean, I assisted at probably, maybe 125 autopsies, performed one by myself with the doctor assisting me, which I thought was great. And those were some, again, fond memories.
Yeah. Must have felt good to be trusted enough to do that autopsy by yourself.
Well, yeah, he was there, sat down in a chair. He says, "Okay, Dick," he says, "you and I have done so many. It's your turn."
Uh-huh.
And we followed the protocol, and it was, I learned my anatomy right there. It wasn't book learning.
Right.
It was actual.
Right. Sometimes that's the best way to learn something.
That's right.
Yeah. So you did that, and then it was time to
then
leave
my
the military?
discharge came up.
Okay.
Came back, and I worked for a small hospital here. I can't remember which one. Oh,
So you came back to Michigan?
yeah. Got married the first time.
Okay.
And came back. And like I say, worked in, it was East Side General Hospital. That's what it was. I worked there till they closed that hospital.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I believe I worked at Sinai. And then I went into the service, came home, went to work for St. Joseph Mercy Hospital on the Boulevard.
So you're still a lab technician this whole time?
Oh, yeah. I was,
Okay.
it was, with that degree, it was a biochemical degree anyways.
Uh-huh.
And then it was Garden City Hospital, where I was in charge of the blood bank. Worked at the VA hospital in Allen Park for a short period of time. My father-in-law from my first marriage went out, and there was a thing there that happened. It was Christmas Day, I believe, that I was on call.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my mom and dad got there to celebrate Christmas with us, and the phone rang. Okay, I'm on my way. That was at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed there till 1:30 in the morning, the first call. Got home, my lovely wife had dinner. The phone rang. I went back in again. Well, this went on all night.
Was there something going on that caused this?
Oh, yeah. When you're in the hospital, something goes wrong, you got patients going,
That's true.
And finally, I think I left the hospital last time, was maybe 6:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the receptionist, because at that time you signed out with the operator. And I got home, and I'm pulling in the driveway, and the wife goes out. She says, "The hospital's on the phone." And I said, "Sergeant, what?" She says, we need you.
Mm-hmm.
I says, "I got a half-hour drive time I says, and that? I says, and Walt comes in at 7. I says, so it's senseless. She says, okay. So, okay. The following day, when I went back in, I had to sign into the chief pathologist's office, and the book was there. And he says, no. I says, what do you mean, no? He says, you refused the call. I says, wait a minute. I says, would you be so kind as go with me to the operator? She was just getting off.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, yeah. She says, you can see he's been here. Well, that took him to get it resolved. About 2 months, 2.5 months to get my pay. They just stopped it.
Right.
Father-in-law went out. He says, well, he says, are you through with your white coat? And I says, yeah. He says, I'll see if I can get you into Chrysler's.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he got me into Chrysler's. I worked in a lab. From the lab, that was the time that they were cutting back and everything else. He says, well, you're going to be laid off.
Mm-hmm. So would this have been like the 70s then, or were that?
That was before the 70s.
Okay, so it's like the
probably
60s?
in the early or late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
So he got me into Chrysler's. Unknown at that time was that his big boss went out and had owed my father-in-law big time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my guardian angel. So from the working in the lab, they were saying that I was going to be laid off because I was a young low man on a totem pole. They got me for an interview at Chrysler's in Highland Park. And he says, well, okay, you can come in and work in engineering. Well, like my father-in-law would say, he says, they made me an engineer. He says, I can't even spell it.
Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. It was. I worked in engine development, and he went out and said, no, there's that. And I said, I got to do something. So that stayed with Chrysler's from the lab. Then I went into engine development, then into supplier quality or development.
Right.
At that time, young man, he says, oh, okay, you got a chemical background, we can trust you with something.
Uh-huh.
Well, it started off that I had maybe 12, 14 suppliers. Well, unknown to me, the 12 that they gave me were the ones that the worst ones that they were going to get rid of.
Oh.
And he says, okay, you go out and you see what you can do. Well, I took those 12, going from the rock bottom to some of the premium suppliers. So they went out and he says, okay. They kept on. So I got to be the rubber expert, tires, everything else. Mm-hmm. Took them. And at that time, they had Chrysler. I don't know how it is now. But we would have a quality award.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm not bragging or tapping myself on the back. I had the most suppliers with the Pentastar reports. So that kept on going, But they would never give me a promotion to a 9 for a lease vehicle for some apparent reason. I don't know. And I think that I didn't really have an engineering degree.
Right.
I had a biochemical degree. So I retired. I took a retirement. And then I went out and like I say, consulted. And I enjoyed that. I mean, going back to Germany, I was based here in Detroit, Germany. While I was at Chrysler's, under supplier development is when I had a chance to go to South America, to Mexico.
Wow.
So it is.
Got to see a lot.
I seen an awful lot that I didn't see when I was in the service.
Right. You got out of the service, then you saw the world.
Yeah.
So with your first wife, did you have children?
I had 4 boys.
4 boys.
And sorry to say, I only talked to, one religiously close by. The second one, he moved up into the UP.
Mm-hmm.
The other two says, we don't want anything to do with you, Dad. After the divorce, it was a bitter divorce. My first wife just bent their heads. Till this day, I only see two of them.
Uh-huh.
The other two, they didn't want nothing to do with me.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's, but maybe before I take my last breath, I'll see them. But like that,
Well, is it all right if we talk a little bit about them? Like what do they do and
okay,
that kind of thing?
my oldest son worked, in fact, I got him that job. He was with one of my suppliers. From there, he worked it all the way up to working with, I don't know if it was ITW or TRW. He's divorced now, that I was told that. The second one is, let's see, Richard David. The second son is the one that I'm close to. He lives in Trenton.
Uh-huh.
The third son is the one that's up in the UP. Him and I made peace a long time ago. And then when he got married at a late age, I found a lady that they just fell in love, and they moved up into the UP. But the youngest one, who had the most severe form of clubfoot ever recorded in medical history, does not want to even hear my name. He says, I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to see you on the face of the earth. And that was, let's say 30 years ago.
Okay. Do you know what he's doing today? Do you know anything about him?
The youngest one that doesn't want anything to do with me is a parole officer up in Benton Harbor or St. Joe's. Steve, the one that's up in the UP, is a cook, and he's doing real good. Number 2, David, is working for... he was with a Ford Motor Company as an engineer, and now I think he's working for Roush. But that's it. And then my oldest son is and I think I'm thinking right, he is on the board of directors. He might be part owner now of a scrap metal shop. So he travels all over buying scrap metal.
All right. So if you're... I don't normally ask this, but this is I think this is an opportunity, so I'm going to ask. If your sons ever listen to this or watch the video, is there anything you'd like to say to them? Is there anything you'd like for them to hear from you?
I love them all.
Okay.
It's hard.
Yeah.
For a father to, you raise them. And it is hard.
Yeah. And you love them all.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I won't dig too deep in there. I know that can be painful. My father and I had some troubles too, and we've made our peace. But thank you for being willing to share that, and hopefully they hear this message to them. So.
Yeah.
All right. So you, how many years did you work at Chrysler?
With the points and everything else, it was 20 years.
Okay.
So it was 20 year out, whichever came first.
Right.
And at that time, they said it was a merger of equals. It was never a merger of equals. Shortly after Mr. Eaton and his infamous knowledge, they started chipping away at us older timers.
Right.
And their thing being is, well, okay, we're going to buy you out. Okay, fine. Well, there was a fella that him and I were both in the same situation where he got married the second time. And he says, no, he says, I just got remarried. He says, and my present wife has 2 children. One of them, the youngest one, just goes into high school. Let me have 6 more months, and then I'll take it. And it wasn't no more than 2 weeks later, they walked up, and at that time, how you knew that you got the schnitzel was they would walk by and give you a Xerox box and tell you to clean out your desk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here comes plant protection, and he gives him his box, and that's it. And I can vividly remember, just before I retired, how many of these guys, they shut down the complex so that if you didn't have a working badge, you didn't get in on a complex.
Right.
Well, Joe got the schnitzel. There was another fella that he could have retired 5 years before. Oh, no. Well, come to find out afterwards, he was a landlord of 8 income things.
Mm-hmm.
All his kids were separate, taken care of. But no, he wasn't about to, and he fought it. And they finally, I heard it from one of my cohorts, is that, they forced him out on a technicality.
Wow.
So, I mean, to me, it's a little bad feeling at times with Chryslers, the way things they did. But I got out before on my own, whereas some of my buddies did it. They got here's the box, get out.
Right. The schnitzel, as you call it.
And the first guys getting out, the Xerox box was free.
Uh-huh.
The second group of waves, you give us $1 for that box. And you couldn't take that box up through the gate. Plant protection kept it. They went through it, and then they would call you in to come and pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make sure you weren't taking anything that didn't belong to you.
You couldn't even have a pencil that says Chrysler. Anything that had Chrysler, and yourself, Chrysler, Ford, GM, you always had a pencil or a stapler or something.
Right.
No, you couldn't have any of that.
Wow. So it sounds like you got out just in time.
Oh, yeah.
And then you went into consulting.
I went into consulting, and it was a challenge because, how it came out is we had a teleconference or a telephone, and he says, okay, can you be in Germany tomorrow? I says, hey, I don't know. I got my passport, but that's it. I says, can I? So, but they spoiled me rotten. I flew Lufthansa first class.
The only way to travel, Dick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. So how long did you consult for? How long did you do that?
Probably 5 or 6 years,
Okay.
And after that, what happened is that the company I was consulting with had a big contract with Chrysler, so that's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that contract sort of fell through, that's when they went out and he says, no, you can handle Caterpillar, which was a big account. So I went back and forth. Then they went on and he says, hey, we're cutting back. And I says, well, that's good. I enjoyed the 5 years I had with you people and everything else. And if I had a chance to do it again, you're damn right I would.
Sounds like a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then when you left there, then you were retired?
I retired completely.
Okay. All right. And at what point did you meet Ginger?
Ginger and I met on a blind date.
Uh-huh.
The fella that introduced us was with Siemens.
Mm-hmm.
And he was dating this one girl. And he says, we have tickets to go and see the Nutcracker at Fox. Up to the week before, or actually less than this, 3 days before, I I almost called it off.
Oh.
Well, unknown to me at that time, Ginger went out. Her nephew was graduating, and she was supposed to fly out.
Mm-hmm.
And we hit it off from there. And we just, hey, that to me, sorry to say, yes, I love my first wife, but Ginger was the best thing that ever came along.
Mm-hmm.
And I only wish that I would have met her before I met my first wife, which
Right.
is, sorry to say, if my kids hear it, hey, I loved your mother, but she just called it quits.
Sometimes things just don't work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's understandable.
Yep.
And so in your retirement and in your time with Ginger, did you lived locally here in Michigan then?
Yeah, we lived in, we got married, lived in Royal Oak. From Royal Oak, we went out and bought a house in White Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, everything was going along good. Sorry to say, I don't care for Obama. He can walk in this door right now and out he goes. We lost our house that we built. That was our dream.
Mm-hmm.
So then we moved from White Lake to a condo in Oscoda, where we were for 12? Ginger would know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say 12 years. And then after her, well, she had more of a medical problem than what I did. Like I say, it was just a little bit too far for the kids to drive that 3 hours.
Right. So then now you're here in Heartland.
Yep.
Okay.
Enjoying it. Enjoying it.
You got it. You worked hard your whole life. You should enjoy it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Dick, it's been great talking with you. And as we wrap things up, our conversation up today, I always ask people this question, and that is, years from now, when someone listens to your story, what message would you like for them to take from this conversation today?
Love one another and be honest. Don't lie. Don't try to change the facts. Interpret. Maybe that's my only downfall is I interpret the gray area.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand lying. And anybody that lies, I just don't want anything to do with them. I won't dislike them, but I will not do business with them.
Thank you for listening to the Veterans Archives podcast, where every veteran story is honored and celebrated. Join us as we explore the rich histories and experiences of those who have served our nation. You can catch our podcasts on all major podcast platforms, as well as every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wreaths Across America Radio. At Veterans Archives, we believe your story matters. Visit our website at www.veteransarchives.org to discover more about our mission, access resources for veterans, and stay updated on upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to engage with our community. Subscribe, like, and share to spread awareness about our veterans' stories. Whether you're a veteran, a supporter, or simply curious about the profound journeys of those who have served, Veterans Archives invites you to listen in, learn, and be inspired. Join us as we continue to honor and preserve the legacies of our veterans. Remember, your story matters. Visit us online today at www.veteransarchives.org and connect with us on social media and stay informed and engaged. And as always, thank you for your support.